Rachel Ziegler represents a fascinating and deeply troubling phenomenon of our time. How can a young, promising actress dismantle her own career with such alarming precision that it almost becomes a textbook case? What we're witnessing is nothing short of a speed run of professional self-destruction, so fast and so complete, it defies belief. Ziegler's story is the perfect example of what happens when performative ideology collides headfirst with the commercial reality of Hollywood. Never before have we seen someone unravel their rising star status with such speed and stubborn commitment. It's like watching someone set fire to their own house, and then act shocked when it burns down. Disney's Snow White remake was already wobbling before the scandals hit, but what followed turned a fragile project into a full-blown Hollywood catastrophe. South Park, always quick to strike when the cultural moment is right, didn't miss a beat. While Rachel Ziegler was still trying to do damage control, trying to navigate the murky waters of controversy surrounding Disney's latest moves, South Park came crashing in like a tsunami. They didn't just join the conversation, they bulldozed it. The special episode joining the Pandaverse was ruthless. The creators said out loud what the internet had been whispering for months. By turning Cartman and his gang into middle-aged women of color, they delivered a brutal parody of Hollywood's obsession with ticking every diversity box, often at the cost of story coherence. The episode slammed Disney for twisting timeless, authentic stories into hollow vessels for ideological virtue signaling. And the message couldn't have been clearer. Congratulations, Disney, you've been so busy trying to please everyone that you've forgotten how to tell a good story. But perhaps the most devastating blow came in the form of one simple question. If you strip Snow White of everything that made it iconic, what's left? Nothing but a bloated marketing campaign dressed in moral buzzwords. Right now, Disney is going through an identity crisis more intense and awkward than a teenager in full-blown puberty. Every decision they make screams, "Please like us, accept us, validate us." And in doing so, they are alienating the very audience they once knew how to enchant. Disney's recent creative choices have gone from bold to baffling. They are rewriting beloved storylines that stood the test of decades, treating their most iconic characters like DIY projects pulled from Pinterest. The casting of Rachel Ziegler as Snow White, combined with the radical overhaul of the story and the near-total removal of the romance that was central to the original, created a perfect storm of backlash. Throw in the controversy over the portrayal of the dwarfs, and Disney had fans furious before a single frame was even shot. The studio's handling of the project felt less like authentic inclusion and more like a mechanical execution of a corporate diversity checklist. From the very start, this remake was a sitting duck, a target practically begging to be taken down in today's ruthless social media ecosystem. Even the character's name posed a built-in problem. She's called Snow White because, quite literally, her skin is as white as snow. By casting Rachel Ziegler, a Latina actress, Disney had to know this decision would ignite fierce debate. But the controversy didn't stop at the casting. Disney methodically stripped the story of its core. No Prince Charming, no central romance, and the seven dwarfs replaced with digital background extras in what was supposed to be a live-action remake. Honestly, how does any of this make sense? Rachel Ziegler, in many ways, embodies the Gen Z archetype taken to its most extreme. She's the poster child for a hyper-privileged generation that believes it has the moral right to rewrite a century-old fairy tale based on its own ideological lens, with no regard for the story's legacy, its meaning, or the fans who cherished it. When you're given a role as iconic and culturally significant as Snow White, the very least you can do is show some respect for the original. But Rachel Ziegler took the exact opposite approach. Instead of honoring the story's legacy, she launched into a series of inflammatory statements, openly criticizing the original film. In interviews, she dismissed the classic as outdated and weird, even suggesting that Prince Charming exhibited problematic and creepy behavior. The original is centered on a love story with a guy who literally stalks her, she said, with barely concealed disdain. This kind of comment reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of the era in which the film was created, and of what it meant to the generations who grew up with it. But perhaps even more damaging was Ziegler's response to public criticism. She went so far as to say she didn't need the money or support of unhappy fans. In fact, she told them to unfollow her if they didn't like it, a bizarre marketing strategy for someone whose success still hinges on public goodwill. She also boasted that the new version of Snow White had entirely removed the romantic plot. The prince was practically non-existent, she said, with a smirk, claiming that all of Andrew Burnup's scenes could be cut entirely from the film. That's Hollywood, baby, she shrugged. But now, she has no film at all. That's Hollywood, baby, indeed. South Park, never one to miss a cultural misfire, couldn't ignore Disney's painfully awkward reinvention of the Seven Dwarfs either. Gone were the charming, memorable characters generations had loved. In their place, digitally rendered stand-ins, empty, lifeless, and forgettable. What Disney ultimately presented was a diverse ensemble of friends that looked like they'd been cast from a failed audition for a low-budget Dungeons & Dragons fan film. The result? Instead of avoiding controversy, Disney dove headfirst into a far bigger storm. South Park didn't miss the opportunity. They mercilessly mocked this growing trend of gutting classic stories in the name of not offending anyone, only to end up irritating absolutely everyone. You'd think The Little Mermaid remake would have taught Disney something. Yes, casting Halle Bailey sparked initial pushback, but the film largely stayed true to the heart of the original, and audiences responded positively. I saw The Little Mermaid myself, and to be fair, Halle Bailey delivered a genuinely impressive performance. The film worked because it honored the core narrative, modernizing where appropriate without destroying the soul of the story. Snow White, on the other hand, is a completely different, and much more troubling, situation. It's not a respectful update. It's not even a modernization. It's a radical overhaul so extreme, the story is barely recognizable. And then there's Rachel Ziegler, delivering sarcastic, dismissive interviews where she openly talks about wanting to throw out the romance plot entirely. One brutal comment on X, formerly Twitter, asked the obvious, if you hate the story so much, why did you even take the role? And that question strikes at the heart of the issue. The way Rachel Ziegler is handling this backlash says a lot about her maturity, or lack thereof. Spoiler alert, she's handling it very, very badly. According to internal sources at Disney, Ziegler is furious behind the scenes. She can't seem to grasp why the public isn't embracing her bold, modern vision of Snow White. But the answer is simple, because that vision replaces something beloved with something hollow. Rachel Ziegler dreamed of creating a revolutionary work, something that would be celebrated, praised, and immortalized. Instead of walking red carpets and receiving glowing reviews, she's now making headlines as the actress who managed to wreck a timeless classic by forcing her personal ideology into its core. She's been relentlessly mocked and torn apart, even by South Park, one of the most brutal and culturally influential shows on American television. According to multiple sources, what stings her the most is the insinuation that she wasn't chosen for her talent, but for the sake of diversity optics. And frankly, I truly believe she may never work again in major Hollywood productions, at least not anytime soon. At this point, launching a reaction video YouTube channel might serve her better. Because really, what director or casting agent would take the risk of hiring her after this level of public and professional disaster? Her reputation now precedes her. She's seen as someone who will challenge the production, question every creative decision, and turn every press tour into a political soapbox. And that's devastating, because Snow White was supposed to be the role of a lifetime. A golden opportunity. Imagine this, you're 22 years old, at the very start of your acting career, and you land one of the most iconic, globally recognized roles in film history, and then you burn it all down, in the most spectacular way possible. An actor's career is already unpredictable. It's built on fragile networks of trust, reputation, and diplomacy. In Hollywood, you can't just barge in and say exactly what you think without considering long-term consequences. You have to learn to navigate the game. You know what could theoretically save her now? If she owned up to her mistakes. If she apologized, sincerely, publicly, and showed even a sliver of humility. Imagine if Rachel Zegler had simply said, "You know what? I was completely wrong. I'm truly sorry. I was arrogant, immature, and blind to the incredible opportunity one had. I was a pretentious 22-year-old who didn't understand the weight of the role I'd been given. I was insufferable, and I should have treated that role with the respect it deserved. I should have been infinitely more grateful for such a once-in-a-lifetime chance." If she said that, genuinely, publicly, with humility, she might actually have a shot at redeeming herself. She could begin to rebuild her image, regain some public goodwill, and maybe even work again. But instead, she seems determined to double down. Head first, stubbornly clinging to a "I'm right and the world just doesn't get it" attitude. And that, to me, is the most self-destructive move of all. She had the role of a lifetime. At just 22, she was handed something most actors will never even come close to, and she obliterated it out of pure ego and short-sighted pride. If it were me, I'd take the opposite approach. Tell me exactly what to say. Write it down. Show me how to act, how to repair this, and I'll do it. Because I'd know what was at stake. At this point, I can only hope Hollywood drops this obsession with performative wokeness, the relentless checkbox-fueled storytelling wrapped in hollow slogans of diversity, equity, and inclusion that seem to infect every project, only to result in one artistic and commercial failure after another. What we need is a return to real storytelling. Strong, well-crafted films. Historically grounded, or at least narratively coherent. I'm tired of watching Hollywood take iconic classics and turn them into empty, preachy reboots that bomb on every level. It's like taking a pristine 1968 Mustang and shoving a Ferrari engine inside just to feel progressive. At some point, we have to stop. It's okay to love and respect the classics for what they are, without obsessively trying to fix them to fit modern sensibilities. You know what Disney should do before they touch another classic? Go talk to the fans who actually loved them. Honestly, it's not that complicated. Disney could organize real fan conventions. Open actual dialogue with the communities who live and breathe this content, the ones who care deeply about these stories. Ask them directly, what do you want to see? What excites you? What worries you? Put out a simple poll on Twitter or any platform. Would you rather see radical modern updates of our classics or faithful retellings that honor the original stories? I guarantee you, the overwhelming majority would vote to keep them classic. Between Disney's strategic PR missteps, Rachel Ziegler's self-sabotaging interviews, and South Park's brutal takedown, all of it collided into one massive Hollywood car crash, the kind we rarely witness at this scale. And while the industry scrambles to save face, the fans, they are sitting back with popcorn, watching it all burn. So the real question is, will Disney finally learn something from this catastrophe? Or will they keep pushing forward, stubbornly modernizing these classics until there's nothing left to modernize? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't hold back.